SoFi is closed at 25.60. We see a very obvious red hammer candle, very dramatic lower wick showing a lot of buying pressure as sellers try to make their move downwards. We see that there's been a bit of back and forth between the ranges of that $25 level and around that 23.76. We continue to see the fight claiming that $25 level and staying above it, keeping it as support. Continuing to see that back and forth after we made that nice move up, that previous high being that 26.61. Since that point, guys, we've seen a bit of chop between that high there and the bottom of the floor being around that 24.90. We chopped there for a few days. We got a movement downwards as the sellers successfully pushed us lower within another type of chop range. The floor being that 23.76 and then that high being that 25.11. And we chop around for a couple days. We see buyers step in with a nice green wide bar. But then we see on the most recent day, buyers try to push us up and then sellers really try to yank us all the way back down within this range, getting close to that 23.70. But we see buyers buy it back up a good bit, guys. Still a red day, closing at 25.60, but definitely a solid comeback move as these sellers really did try to yank stock price downwards. So should we expect a retest of that $26 level, or are we going to continue to battle it out, or are the sellers going to get a nice little pullback here? So guys, starting on the weekly time frame, the main thing that I point out on SoFi, as we do on every video, is that we've gotten over a very important spot here, that $25 level in the past. After that IPO range, we see that was a very sharp resistance level, and trending backwards, we did get that movement over it. We've been fighting for that ultimate control, but we still are over it, guys, so we haven't gotten that big movement to the downside despite being super overextended. And in the big grand scheme of things, guys, we have broken out of a very long term, around 2.5 year long cup and handle pattern, as this was the handle. And then after we touched that floor of 852, gotten that explosive move to the upside. The strongest SoFi has ever been, doing around a 200% movement now, guys, pretty close to that. So very impressive stuff. I mean, if we take the drawings off, this just amplifies how nice SoFi has been, guys, and we haven't gotten that pullback despite being super overextended. A pullback's always in the question, but buyers time and time again has shown us that we should be expected to hit all-time highs before finding a real pullback. All right, guys, now turning back to the daily, the main fundamentals I want to cover before getting into the technicals here is on the last trading day, Friday, September 5th. SoFi announced a deepened collaboration with Capitalize to simplify 401k transfers. And SoFi has also secured a $2 billion extension for its loan platform business agreement with Fortress Investment Group, causing a lot of volatility in the market, as we've seen, right? The sellers try to yank it down, and we did get a substantial move back to the upside to, really create that hammer candle effect. But all in all, we still are looking quite nice fundamentally. And from the technicals alone, guys, we have seen a ton of back and forth, but we have had the buyers win these fights. So trending backwards with this handle-like effect and this descending type of channel, after we hit that 852 like we saw on the weekly, it's been a very nice move to the upside, and nothing's really been stopping us, guys. We have had a lot of volatility building up to that point, but then we see price gets pretty tight given that overall volatility that we saw, and that kind of bleeds us out of that range. And from that range, guys, we see a very nice controlled ascending movement to this range of 2073 and 2242. That's where you see a bit of chop, and we get a premature move up to that $25 level. It's where you see a rejection, as that was just too quick of a move. But we do find an ascending profile, and we see a few tests of around that range, right? We see another premature test here, closing lower. We break this descending notion, we get back up, get a test, cannot reach that point again, but we still stay on this ascending profile, and then we get a test right around that 24.91, being that more prominent test around that $25 level, and that yanks us down quite a bit. But you see once again, guys, right, we see that sellers try to make their movement, stemming off a very strong red engulfing candle, and we see a ton of buying pressure as the sellers try to put us in this range. And then from there, we see a nice, very nice continuation, breaking through that $25 level once and for all and creating a higher high of formations, being right around that $26.31 level. And then we see a continuation to $26.61 before chopping around for around 4 days of price action. And then we see sellers yank us a little bit lower, but very small pullback given that more recent move to the upside. And then we see buyers try to put us back within that range. They successfully did, but we do see sellers try to make their move once again, and you'd see a ton of buying pressure. So right now what we see on the chart is a good bit of back and forth, but an overall healthy overextended move to the upside. And where sellers are trying to make their move, buyers are catching those moves like we saw right here, trending backwards a bit like we saw right here, trying to push us under that range. And more recently, like we saw right here, right, we try to get pushed back within that range, but we see that huge buyback. So as long as we can continue trending back to that $26 level, you could expect a bit of continued chop sideways like we kind of saw a ton of chop right here, or you could just be expecting a nice test, get over that level and try to use that 26 as support, continue trending to the upside and trying to reach those all-time highs. Like we saw on the weekly, guys, the all-time highs of this stock is that IPO range, that being right around that $28 level. 28.26 to be exact. So that is our main price target on the channel. Like we said in the last video, guys, I don't see a huge pullback really happening with this stock until we hit those levels. Given the overall stock presence, how strong it's been overall, these little battles, and how overextended we are, but we continue to rip to the upside. So my prediction is we do end up testing those levels before seeing a major pullback. There is going to be a bit of back and forth. You could argue this was a very small pullback, but I'm talking a major pullback. It's the stock market, guys. Things go up, things go down. There's going to be a pullback on the stock eventually, but given this overall nice price action, I think that we do trend to that $28 level, possibly that 30 psychological dollar level, before seeing an attempted pullback back within these ranges here. Now we have a lot of good ranges to go off of, right? We have some pretty solid support at that 23.76. We're laying down some solid support at that 25.11. And this stock is just very, very reactive. Like these resistances like to turn into support, vice versa. In the past, if we're on a bearish move to the downside, solid supports can turn into a bit of tricky resistances to get over. And that's the main thing that we see with SoFi. It's a very reactive stock. And even in more recent price action, we see how strong of a resistance that 25 general area was for us right in the past in the IPO range, as well as what we see right here. We see how nice and reactive that ascending profile was. Say we trend a bit higher, find a little bit of a pullback motion, or even if we're still looking at the bad case scenario, we have a extremely strong support at that 2073. Look at all those times it's held up. Look at all those attempted moves to the downside, right? We see one here, twice here, 3 times here, 4 times here, and we end up moving to the upside. So we have a very strong support level there in the long term and medium term, you could say, if the stock did end up seeing some bearish price action and pressure. But right now, I like what I'm seeing. We're still in a very healthy ascending profile here. You see a very obvious ascending nature to it. All right, guys, on the hourly, what we're seeing here is an ascending profile. Like we saw here, we got that test of 25.11. Was in a little bit of a descending motion, made a higher high, destroying that descending type of nature there. We got that 24.91 movement, so let's try to ride that momentum. Cannot, right? We get back up there, break through that previous high, hit the high of this range of 26.61, and then we see a little bit of chop, a retest, and so let's try to ride that momentum. But once again, we hold it pretty nicely given that move to the upside. We don't get a drastic pullback. We're just kind of chopping back and forth with a slight descending motion. And then we try to get back in that range, but that's where you see that strong engulfing bar on the hourly. But then right away, buyer step right back in. So they can't do too much with that momentum there that they had. And as long as we're staying in this range, guys, we're looking nice for that continued chop, retesting that zone, try to break through it. If we didn't get it the next time that we go up, watch for that support level to hold, kind of chop around a little bit, get tight. Look for that move to the upside. So bullish on the stock still, guys. Price targets are all-time highs, 28, 26, and $30 before seeing any notable pullback, guys. And we could even stem off more momentum there and go a bit higher than that. But that's what we got for predictions. So let me know your price predictions in the comments below, both short and long term. And if you guys want to see more SoFi videos, make sure to like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. And as always, trade smart. I will see you all in the next one.